Hey, good morning, everybody. Today is Sunday, 3/24/24. Welcome back to the channel. Today it's more coffee talk headlines, and then at the end of the show today, it's a replay, a re-upload of a bizarre decode that we did when Trump buried his ex-wife at his golf course in New Jersey after parking a DeLorean in front of it during a golf tournament. Now, that decode is also a great recap on all the time travel connections to Trump that we found over the years and how this might fit into his second presidency. But first, let's get into these headlines. We're going to start with the headlines today. There's some weird stuff going on leading up to this eclipse and Passover. State Farm is imploding in California, pulling home insurance policies for 72,000 customers. Let's read about this. Now, before we get into this, in case you didn't know, house insurance is required to refinance your house. So, if you're stuck in a loan, you thought you could just refinance. Well, that's not possible when you do not have home insurance. So this is a way for them to get rid of people, right? To make people just give up on the whole process of home ownership with a mortgage. It was a straw man to begin with all along, with inflated home prices in California and people mortgaging those homes, never paying them off. And then they're at the mercy of the banks and whatever policies are set forth by the controllers to basically sabotage your homeowning experience. Let's read this. State Farm discontinuing 72,000 home policies in California in the latest blow to the state insurance market. Wow. And this is starting this summer. The insurance giant said this week, 9 months after announcing it would not issue new home policies in the state. The Illinois-based company, California's largest insurer, cited soaring costs, the increasing risk of catastrophes like wildfires and outdated regulations as reasons it won't renew the policies on 30,000 homes, 42,000 apartments. This decision was not made lightly and only after careful analysis of State Farm General financial health. Wow. Now you can expect this kind of stuff to roll out to other states as time goes on and more unnatural disasters occur in the coming weeks and months. They definitely seem to know something that none of us know. This has really never happened in the history of homeowners insurance that I could tell in my research. Anyway, good morning and welcome. I see a new subscriber. Thanks, Laura, for subscribing to the channel. Let's get into the rest of these headlines today. What else is going on around the world? Well, a woman who claims to be Kate Middleton has come forward and surfaced finally. And to me, this woman doesn't really look like Kate Middleton. Now, what's going on with Kate Middleton? Well, people believe that she has gone missing. There's been some really shady posts on Twitter where she claims to show pictures, but really it was photoshopped. They got caught photoshopping it, admitted it. No one has seen Kate Middleton. And all of a sudden, she's resurfaced, and it's her, they say. But and I'll let you guys be the judge of this, but to me, this doesn't look anything like her. I mean, it's been a while since people have seen her, but she's now saying that she has cancer. Let's listen to what she has to say here in this 2-minute and 13-second video.
Opportunity to say thank you personally for all the wonderful messages of support and for your understanding whilst I've been recovering from surgery. It has been an incredibly tough couple of months for our entire family, but I've had a fantastic medical team who have taken great care of me, for which I'm so grateful. In January, I underwent major abdominal surgery in London, and at the time, it was thought that my condition was non-cancerous. The surgery was successful. However, tests after the operation found cancer had been present. My medical team therefore advised that I should undergo a course of preventative chemotherapy, and I'm now in the early stages of that treatment.
So, stomach cancer. Now, for those of you that don't know, This is typically a death sentence for a lot of people getting stomach cancer. Well, she's apparently, sounds like she's going to beat this. But I don't know. Let's do a poll in the chat here, and you guys tell me what you think. Is this Kate Middleton or not? Let's do a poll here. Is that Kate Middleton? Yes or no? Let's start the poll and see what you guys say and what you think about this. Didn't look like her to me either. Now, I don't follow the royal family ultra closely like a lot of people do. So, you know, I don't have a lot of images in my brain of her other than some of the very bizarre images showing her compared to like princesses in the Disney universe. Like someone did a side-by-side, I think in the Facebook group, and actually showed her and her husband and side by side, and they're both wearing almost the exact same outfits as in like the Disney universe, some of the older Disney films. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't even believe that. And then of course Rosemary's Baby and stuff like this. So most of you don't believe that that looks like her, and I would tend to agree with you on that. Didn't really look like her to me, but anyway. So that's what's going on with Kate Middleton. Now, let's get into some of these other topics. We said about a month ago on this channel that there could be some kind of cosmic event that coincides with the eclipse comet next week. Gosh, it's right around the corner, isn't it? Here we are on 3/24, and on 4/8, April 8th, is the eclipse comet. And we were talking about some kind of cosmic event possibly happening during this, in addition to the eclipsing comet. And look at this. Now all of a sudden they're seeding into our consciousness some kind of cosmic explosion that they say will be visible to the naked eye in a once-in-a-lifetime stargazing event. Now, this, I guess, broke on 3/22. Very, very suspicious. They're telling us that there's going to be some kind of astronomical event. Why announce this now, with weeks until the eclipse? And how do they know? And if they do know, wouldn't they know exactly when this event was supposed to kick off instead of just giving us a 2-month window? This doesn't make any sense to me. Well, let's read about this. A rare cosmic eruption is expected to occur in the Milky Way in the coming months. An outburst so bright that a new star will seemingly appear for a short time in the night sky. Now remember, these are people who claim that they can get in a spaceship and operate things remotely from billions of miles away, right? And they can do it they say they're not doing it in real time, but yet everything is, they think they can communicate vast distances remotely on what they tell us are other planets. And in order to do that, you would have to make calculations down to the microsecond, correct? But now they're telling us there's going to be a cosmic eruption and it's going to happen in the next few months, but they're not giving us an exact time. Wouldn't they be able to calculate an exact time? Look at this, you guys. The event known as a nova will be a once-in-a-lifetime sky-watching opportunity for those in the northern hemisphere. So they're telling us a nova is going to crack off in the sky. Now, I have to share something with you, because night before last night, I had a dream vision, and I actually was speaking in my sleep, and I woke up Ree in her sleep, and the vision that was in my mind was I looked up into the eclipse and I saw an eye around it. Literally the iris of an eye. And in the pupil was the eclipse. And the whole sky was a giant eye. Well, something really weird happened yesterday after this dream when we were screening the new TV series 3 Body Problem, which is produced by Brad Pitt. So it's comparable in its kind of the way it's made. It's kind of comparable to like the original True Detective series. I think Brad Pitt produced that as well, and a few other Netflix series. And I mention him because a lot of the stuff that he has his hands on has a lot of disclosure in it that we've discovered over the years. Well, all of a sudden, and we're going to cover this tomorrow, this 3-body solution. All of a sudden, we're watching this, and an alien race causes a giant eye to open up in the sky in the TV series. And at the center is, and I'm showing it to you on your screen right now, is the center of the Vesica Pisces, or the center of an eclipse shape at the center of the eye that appears in the sky. And she and I looked at each other, and I said, wow. So, remains to be seen what all that means. I'm just sharing with you a personal story of how all that went down over the last couple of days. So it's been an odd last couple of days, to say the least. But let's keep going with this cosmic explosion that they say is going to happen over the next couple of months. So, the event known as a nova will be a once-in-a-lifetime skywatching opportunity for those in the northern hemisphere. The stellar eruption will take place in a system called T Corona Borealis. Of course, it has to be T Corona, which is 3,000 light years away from Earth. It contains 2 stars, dead star, also known as a white dwarf, closely orbited by a red giant. Red giants are dying stars running out of hydrogen fuel. Now, I don't know about you, but in my entire lifetime, I've never seen a stellar event like this. Nor have I even really read about an event like this happening or talked to people a generation older than me, or even the generation after that can recall anything like this ever happening. Literally, you'd be sitting at night looking up in the sky and see an explosion in the stars. Just bizarre. But here they're telling us in the next few months this is supposed to happen. It says here, in systems like T Corona Borealis, the 2 stars are so near to each other that matter from the red giant is constantly spilling onto the surface of the white dwarf. Now, I want to also add this. In the TV series 3-body solution that we're going to cover tomorrow, 3-body problem, sorry. It's all about 3 suns. 3 suns causing a cosmic event. So essentially, the TV series has the same theme as what they're telling us is really going to happen in the sky. In this case, 2 suns. In the TV series, 3 suns. It says here, at its peak, the eruption should be visible to the naked eye. It's going to be bright in the sky, so it'll be easily visible from your backyard. Astronomers predict that the nova explosion could happen anytime between now and September. Is this a setup to an eclipse event, is the question. Them being so obscure about exactly when it's going to happen. They should know exactly when it's going to happen, right? It says here, the last time this particular star system erupted was in 1946. That was the year Trump was born. And another eruption will likely not occur for another 80 years or so. So, what the heck? Now, here is where it's supposed to happen. Near M13 in the Hercules constellation. Here's the Corona Borealis here next to it. And so this is supposed to pop off here pretty soon. So, weird times. What else is going on? Well, seems like humanity has come full circle. We are now back to the Alpha generation. Alpha? Let's read this. This is out of the LA Times. Millennials gave birth to Generation Alpha. Are these kids already doomed? Now, this is spooky because a lot of the subject matter of the TV series we're going to decode tomorrow, three-body problem is all about this and what we're going to talk about next. There are virtual reality headsets sent from the future or sent from out of this world by aliens to control the people's minds, brainwash them, and control them in the series. Let's read a little bit about this and see what's going on. Zoomers fear them. Boomers want more of them. Millennials will keep making them for the rest of the year. Born between 2010 and the end of 2024, Generation Alpha is the demographic successor to Generation Z. Its oldest members are not quite ready for a quinceañera, while its youngest will be conceived in the coming weeks. When the last of them arrive this December, they'll close the largest cohort of children ever to exist on Earth. There are already concerns that the kids aren't all right. The overwhelming majority have yet to graduate elementary school, and 1 in 5 are still in diapers. Yet they're widely being called feral, illiterate, and doomed on TikTok and YouTube, where alphas themselves make up a large and growing share of users. Blame bad parenting by millennials or tech companies or both, but many of those responsible for setting the discourse online agree we should be worried for them. Everyone on the internet is really scared of Generation Alpha, said Gen Z influencer Ravada Duda, whose content is popular. They're like weird, she says. Let's keep reading here. Despite decades of declining birth rates and years of hand-wringing over a pandemic baby bust, there are now more than 2 billion alpha children worldwide, more than a quarter of the population of the planet. Now, I don't know if I believe this. They could be making these numbers up. I see less and less and less children, so I don't know what they're talking about here. But let's keep reading here. And some aspects of their culture are sparking backlash. Baby decor is in sad beige. That's Generation Alpha. Screen-obsessed iPad kids, alphas again. Beauty store barbarian Sephora tweens stampeding through skincare aisles and slathering their baby faces in retinol, alphas allegedly. So, here we are in a world where we have the most technology, the most information, and we've just given birth to probably the saddest generation, Generation Alpha. Now, interestingly, Alpha is the first letter of the alphabet, obviously, and Z was the Omega. So we are now in the Alpha Omega generation. It's the crossover from Gen Z to Gen A again. The Alpha and the Omega, the end and then the new beginning. And that must mean something spiritually, doesn't it? All this Alpha Omega we've been talking about on the channel seems to be manifesting even in these generations of children. Look at this, even the school bus, because Generation Alpha would be the first, and all the children are in school bus number 1. Here you see this cropped out here, XO. That's almost like OX, like the mark. What is going on here? Just bizarre, you guys. Now, I'm going to go back into the chat, and then I want to play a little bit of this video that we did from years ago. And it's a decode that we did just after Trump's ex-wife died, and he buried her in a golf course. How spooky is that? And then again, tomorrow we'll be back with a decode on the entire series. We screen the entire series, Three Body Problem, produced by Brad Pitt. And it was absolutely one that we had to decode. As I told you, there was visions. The aliens came, and in the sky, they were able to produce a giant eye in the sky around an eclipse, just like in my dream. And at the center of the pupil, there was also all kinds of other very specific elements that we've covered over the last 10 years on this channel that weren't covered on other channels. Very specific stuff that we had covered, you guys, and I can't wait to show you that tomorrow. But let's end today's show with this. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Donald Trump time travel matrix. Connections so bizarre, yet so consistent that they'll leave you scratching your head. Now, time travel is not what you think, and so stay tuned as we begin to break this down. Now, when I first went down the Donald Trump time travel rabbit hole, I was a little bit skeptical. Some of the first evidence that started to come out over the last 2 or 3 years, I didn't really make the connections. I thought, oh, there's no way. There's no way. And then the Holy Spirit revealed to me that time travel is not what you think, that it's something different, that it's really about spirit possession. Demons inhabiting host bodies down throughout history to the present. Demons going all the way back to, of course, the time of Jesus and before, all the way back to the time of the flood. And by the end of it all, everything came together. All the symbolism in the Hollywood media that was pointing to one man. Now, today's show will be a recap of a lot of the work that we've done on the Donald Trump time travel matrix, as well as the recent pinnacle of it all, with the death of his wife, Ivana. Now, let's pull up this first image that I have for you guys, because this is where our journey begins today. A seeming acknowledgement of the Back to the Future connection to the Donald Trump family. This just released hours ago. Now, is this gaslighting? Of course it is. But there's something to this, isn't there? And we scheduled this show yesterday, and then I go in the news, and lo and behold, I'm researching, and it says, DeLorean styled in Back to the Future at Trump Bedminster. Literally confirming the connection. Look at this. Let's take a look at this image. 54. That's loaded. Connections to Studio 54. 8 events, smaller fields, shotgun starts. Now, of course, the 54 means something else in this context, but we're reading between the lines, aren't we? There seems to be, what is that, a fishing pole? No, that's just a wire holding this display up. Now, you're going to understand why this DeLorean at the golf course is important for many, many reasons as we begin to break this down. What does this say? Welcome volunteers. Okay. Let's read what this has to say. And this is where our rabbit hole journey begins today. Let me make sure you guys are with me. We've got a full show today. Lots and lots of evidence, recaps. We're going to get into Ivana, where she was buried at the DeLorean golf course, and everything else today. Unbelievable. Bedminster, New Jersey. When you talk through the fan village at Trump National Golf Club Bedminster for this week's Live golf event, you see everything from various food trucks and golf activities to a merchandise tent and a DeLorean time machine? Question mark. A car styled after the DeLorean DMC-12, made famous by the Back to the Future movie franchise, might appear to be out of place, but it's actually right at home. The DeLorean has a unique tie to the course that's playing host to the Greg Norman-led and Saudi Arabia-funded series, seeing as the property used to be the home of the vehicle's namesake. Yes, Trump purchased the property from John DeLorean, which is the place where Ivana is now buried. Before he was president of the United States, Donald Trump bought the 500-plus acre former estate of the automaker John DeLorean in 2002, which at the time was a golf course construction project on the verge of collapse. Trump kept the same plans for the golf course, and was purely the money man to lift the project back on its feet, paying $35 million for the property. Those people had a great vision, but didn't quite have the funding, he said at the time. According to NJ.com, DeLorean's mansion was renovated as the clubhouse with the garage as the golf shop. There's a helipad just off the 15th fairway, a pool, cottages for guests, not to mention Trump's private residence, as well as a handful of goats for tax purposes. Goats. Now, what does it say up here? DeLorean and his former wife, Christina Ferrar, bought the property in 1981, just as a former General Motors Wunderkind was launching the manufacture of his distinctive stainless steel sports car with gull wing doors. As history now knows, the DeLorean Motor Company failed, and DeLorean was charged with cocaine trafficking in an attempt to raise money for his car company. Although DeLorean was eventually acquitted, the ordeal cost him his marriage and his financial stability. Now, more on this golf course. 36-hole golf course was designed by Tom Fazio and Tom Fazio II, opened in 2004. Trump's daughter Ivanka and Jared were married here in 2009. Property was approved in 2015 to also have a plot for a family cemetery, and Trump's ex-wife Ivana reportedly was buried there after her recent death. This is a brand new article just released hours ago. Now, I put together this playlist of all of the time travel work that we have done on this channel with regards to Donald Trump. There's Back to the Future stuff in here. There's Quantum Leap stuff in here. And before we get into the details of why Ivana was buried at DeLorean's golf course, Back to the Future, I want to go over some of these videos and just give you a quick summary so you can see all the work in its entirety and you can decide what all this means. Now, I'll put the link to this playlist in the pinned comment, of course, so you can check this out. Many of you have already got into this playlist. It's 26 videos, some of them short, some of them long, but you could get through this playlist in a day and see for yourself. Now, in my opinion, this is some of the most revealing work on this channel because it documents and details the entire body of evidence. Let's begin with this first video here. Make this a little bit smaller for you guys so you can see this. Now, in this video, we actually compare Trump's mother and her clan, the Clan MacLeod. We compare that with the Highlander Clan MacLeod. Now, both have the same battle flag design. It's basically a mountain on fire. This confirms that the whole Highlander series was all about Clan MacLeod and the Trump family. Now, this next video compares the Bikers for Trump to Biff's Pleasure Palace in Back to the Future. And in that particular movie, Biff's gosh, that's a word sandwich. Biff's Pleasure Palace is surrounded by bikers. All of you remember the scene. We broke that scene down in fine detail and showed you the comparisons between the two, which are undeniable. And then there was this video, Gulliver's Travels. Now, in this video, the artist who painted the scenes in the original animation, Gulliver's Travels, from decades and decades ago, also painted the murals at Mar-a-Lago. Now, why is this important? Well, because it's always been about the giants, hasn't it? The fallen angels. Then we get into this video. This is the movie Paycheck. And the DeLorean was a lotus. That was the design that John DeLorean based it off of, the basic shape of another card called a lotus. And in this video, we talk about the Isle of Lewis being the same as the Isle of Lotus. In fact, the root word of Lewis comes from Leodis, L-E-O-D-I-S, which sounds like lotus. And of course, MacLeod, L-E-O-D, is the first four letters of Leodis. Clan MacLeod is Clan MacLotus. You guys. Lady of the United States, liar of the United States, whatever you want to call it. It's all happening right now. And it's all connected. Then we go down here. Let's skip ahead a few. I'm not going to go over every single one of these videos, but I want to give you a summary so you can see all of the evidence. This is Planet of the Apes, and what we have in this decode is a time-traveling Apollo's arrow. As Charlton Heston lands in this arrow-like Apollo rocket on an Apollo mission and finds himself in another timeline where apes rule the world and humans can't speak. Charlton Heston was the Omega Man, the bringer of the cure and the bringer of the disease, which is what Apollo does. And at the end of Planet of the Apes, Abraham Lincoln, becomes an ape. So all you do is take the B and you rotate it and it becomes a P. Ape. Unbelievable. Now, in this decode, Charlton Heston is muzzled to shut him up. As you can see in the picture here, he's wearing a mask. Humans lose their cognitive abilities while the apes are elevated in the food chain. And in this decode, I actually explain how this movie, the whole Planet of the Apes franchise, was based off of a real-life situation an outbreak during the polio spamdemic. Was the outbreak caused by the polio spamdemic? No. The outbreak was something that happened with the polio vaccines. They were infected with a simian flu, which was basically an ape flu. And a lot of people got sick. This is history. You can read about it. It actually happened. And this is what happens when you mix vaccines with animals and then put them into humans. Things like this happen. Now you notice the word polio sounds like Apollo, and there's a reason for that. Bringer of disease, bringer of cure. Now this next one is along the same lines of Apollo, this time in a different TV series called Battlestar Galactica. And, excuse me, in this reboot series, because it's a reboot, because there was an original Battlestar Galactica series in the 1980s, here's a reboot, and in this one, a remnant of humans are basically being chased across the galaxy by an artificially intelligent army of robots that humans actually created. The robots then became self-aware, kind of like in the Terminator franchise storyline, and they started coming after the humans to annihilate them. Now, the only hope of these humans is to escape on one of the last ships in the fleet to survive the onslaught from the artificial intelligence, and they basically hopscotch across the universe to try to find Apollo's arrow. Literally, they go into a tomb, I think it's the tomb of Athena, they find Apollo's arrow, which opens up a portal that takes them to Earth. Are you starting to see the theme yet? Are you starting to see the theme? Across decades of film history, it's the same theme. Apollo bringing disease and cure. And there's always a transformation from human to something else. And it almost always involves a twin. In Battlestar Galactica, there were the artificial intelligence were clones, they were twins. See, was there a twin aspect in this Planet of the Apes? Yes, 2 timelines. There was a monkey Abraham Lincoln and a regular Abraham Lincoln. So yes, now I want to pause here and interrupt myself because during the Battlestar Galactica franchise series, the infection actually became humanity. Humanity would have infect the Cylons and cause them to betray their own race to help the humans once they were around them too much. The twinning effect, and all that has to do with twin spirits, the demonic spirit inhabiting the human host body. Here's another twinning aspect, this time in a different TV series. This one was from the 1960s or 70s, called Time Tunnel, I believe it was called. And in this episode, again, Abraham Lincoln appears. There's something about him. There's something about Abraham Lincoln. They go back to the time before he was shot. And there, I believe they find 2 Lincolns, twins, again, in the series Time Tunnel. Now, let's skip down a couple here. This is one of the most major discoveries on this channel, the 5th of November date, which also, of course, appears in Back to the Future on the readout inside the DeLorean. What is the 5th of November? Well, it's a Celtic pagan festival of Samhain, which is actually spelled Samhain, but it's pronounced Samhain. And this 5th of November date shows up in multiple time travel films. So I think we found it in probably 5 time travel films, of course, including Back to the Future. Films spanning decades, but yet the same date appears. Now, what is the 5th of November? Well, this is when evil spirits time travel. When the veil is lowest, they travel into host bodies, usually via some kind of portal, standing stones usually, or through a forest or a tree portal. Now, we'll come back to this concept of standing stones a little bit later in the show, because 77 degrees away and 14 miles from the house that Trump's mother was born in were the standing stones of Callanish. 77 degrees away and 14 miles, which is 7 and 7 miles. Exactly, because we measured it in Google Earth in one of these videos in this playlist. Now, these standing stones of Callanish actually appear in the time travel series called Outlander. And a woman by the name of Claire Fraser, she's the time traveler in the series, who was born 88 days, with 88 days left in the year. And Marianne McLeod was 88 years old when she passed away. I believe that Marianne McLeod, Trump's mother, is basically the character Claire Fraser in Outlander. It's basically who they were trying to go for when they were casting this. Now, there's this weird aspect to Outlander because Claire is consistently called a witch. She's accused of being a witch because he's basically a doctor from the future, travels back in time through these standing stones, literally 14 miles from where Trump's mother was born, on the Isle of Lewis, and she's accused over and over again of being a witch. Now, there are real witches that travel through the stones of Callanish as well, but the series basically shows that there's a logical explanation as to why Claire is not a witch. But at the very beginning, the very first episode of the Outlander series, her and her husband walk into this little, I think it's like a hotel or something, and they start asking questions, and they realize that the day that they arrived was Samhain. The lady at the counter actually says it, and she talks about the veil being lowered. So the inference here is that Claire is a witch, and that she has traveled through the stones. Now, let's go down here a little bit. This one was chilling. This was on the Dune films. And I think this is actually from the older Dune film, this decode here. Now, what was this about? Well, there's a scene in the original Dune film where the witch basically pokes this boy with a needle. She calls the needle the Gom Jabbar, Gomjabbar. That word translates to forced God's medicine. Gom Jabbar means forced God's medicine, which sounds a whole lot like the smack of the nation to me. Anyway, in this decode, we break down the Scottish prophecy, an ancient Scottish prophecy about the coming ruler from Scotland that would emerge, who would poke his enemies with a dirty needle, a sooty needle, which seems to line up with Trump and the whole smack the nation warp speed to poke millions of Americans. Now, this next video is about the standing stones of Scotland that I mentioned a little bit earlier in this decode. The stones of Callanish. At the 58th degree north parallel. And of course, Trump won the 58th quadrennial presidential election. He wasn't the 58th president. There's a difference. It's the 58th quadrennial presidential election that he won. Got to be clear here because, there's some people a little bit confused about that. Now, these next few videos present the evidence that Trump's mother was one of these travelers in some way, shape, or form. The Highlander series has also many crossover themes to the newer Outlander series. So in this one, we look at the Highlander series. Now, I think in this video we show the guy who wrote the book, Highlander. He was actually invited up to Trump's penthouse. Trump signed his book. So as you are beginning to see, there's much more to all of this than meets the eye. Now, where did the name Biff come up with? Who came up with that name and why? Well, obviously the writers of Back to the Future said that the Biff character was based on Trump when he was a nobody. They literally said that. Well, Trump is Janus too. Janus is also known as Bifrons, which means two faces, and there's where they got the name Biff. Biff Bifrons, two faces. Janus confirmed. So, that's where we break all that down. Now, this video is kind of recent here. This next one, zoom this up a little bit for you guys. The secret of a Biff Tannen. Biff Tannen. This is where they got the whole rest of Biff's names. From Hiram Biff, the original builder, which is kind of like a real estate agent, right? Builder. That's what Trump was, or is. And Hiram Biff has the word Biff in it, of course, the name Biff. Tannen is a demon that looks like a hydra. Biff Tannen. Now, why is there such a proliferation of information here surrounding this one man? Well, because he would be the gate through which the enemy could enter the human host. The twinning aspect. He was the gate. This is why he's so important. Think about what he was able to do. A bipartisan poke. Even though it was made by him, all the left people went out and got it too. Now, albeit they got a different brand, but he was the gate that opened it, made it possible, was he not? This is why he's so important. This is why we focus on him so much on this channel. It was the greatest deception in human history. And as we sit here today, there are people falling out. There are people falling out. I can't tell you why, but there are people falling out. You know why. And it's being covered up. No one's talking about it because it's being blamed on everything else other than what it was really caused by. Perfectly healthy people. We all know somebody who's fallen out, don't we? And we all know why they are falling out. Now, let's keep going here. A couple more. Now, in this video, we go all the way back to the 1940s. The Queen's World's Fair in Corona Park. And we examined the perisphere, which was a globe and a needle, which basically is a bolus and a needle. We look at a particular syringe that was named after the perisphere and needle. We look at Trump's globe that he has in front of his hotel that was based off of the perisphere and needle. And what was so special about this World's Fair? Well, this was the first smack of the nation. The polio smack scene. And we found a billboard of the Trump family at this 1940s World Fair. Literally from his grandfather or something, or maybe it was his dad. And it said Trump on it. And there was an RX, like prescription, on the billboard. And it was surrounded by twin pines. And that billboard actually matched the billboard from Back to the Future. Both billboards said the world of tomorrow. Here's another profound video. Donnie Darko is really Donald Trump. Donnie Trump, time traveler. Now, why do I say that? Well, Donald Darko describes time travel as an arrow coming out of his chest, which is Apollo's arrow, the serpent in the chest, spear coming out of the chest, which just so happens to match up with Trump's coat of arms. He's got a man holding a fist, or a fist holding a spear or an arrow coming up out of a square, out of a chest of a coat of arms. And in this Donnie Darko film, he's wearing a triumph sweater. Now, what are triumphs? Triumphs are arcs of triumph. They're arches. That's what arches are called. They're called arcs of triumph. This very same arch that's in front or behind Trump's military photo, with him standing at the tip of the spear, and behind him is the Arc of Triumph, and under it says, "Many men have come through these portals." Portals. Now, Alec Baldwin once said that Donnie Darko was Trump's favorite movie. You can look that up on YouTube. Baldwin's dressed like a chicken. Now, this next decode is about Mr. Needles, the Mr. Needles character in the Back to the Future film. Mr. Needles says, "You're fired." Sound familiar? Now, this decode right here, again, another very profound decode. Trump time machine in Stargate episode. What was this about? Well, this episode that we found in the Stargate series was all about sterility and depopulation because of a smack scene. And the Stargate address that they went to go to this world where they saw this happening, the Stargate address could be scrambled to spell Trump's name. You can see it right here on the screen. T-R-U-M and it's F, which was his original name. Now, some of you are just probably blown away right now. Once you see all the evidence together, it's undeniable. But there's no need for fear. There's no need for fear. Because we already know that we are saved by belief in Jesus, don't we? Now, this last one here, probably one of the most powerful of the decodes, is from The Devil's Advocate film, which was filmed at Trump's penthouse. And there's also the Quantum Leap episode in which Trump actually appears as himself as a 12-year-old boy. Let's play this one. Because in this Quantum Leap episode, the date that they travel back to is Trump's mother's 46th birthday. Remember, Trump was born in 46. Let's watch this one. Let's see here. Oh, I think we just click on it.
I've run into many people, but never overboard. Hope you don't mind sharing a cab. In time, I've run into many people.
Now, this is backwards, and that's just how it appeared because probably of, whatever you call it, copyright. But this is the actual caption in the episode of Quantum Leap. And this is Trump's mother's birthday when she was 46 years old. Trump then appears. Let's keep watching this here. Now, when did we upload this video? Let's see here. Now, many of you see bits and pieces of this work on other people's channels, okay? But this is why I sometimes show you this, just so you know the origin of this. We uploaded this in January of 2019. And this was before the smack scene came to market. This was before the spam-demic, you guys. Now let's watch this here. This is crazy.
Hope you don't mind sharing a cab.
Oh, no problem. It's just right up ahead here on 5th Avenue.
Where are you going?
Brokers. Meeting. New York Realtors. Come on, Donald.
Hello, Mr. Trump. Well, there's going to be a lot of money made in real estate in the future.
Meeting. New York Realtors. Come on, Donald.
Hello, Mr. Trump. Well, there's going to be a lot of money made in real estate.
So you heard it there. Sound quality is a little bad, but you can always go back to the episode and see for yourself. 12-year-old Donald, unbelievable foreshadowing. Where they were going to 5th Avenue is where they're dropped off by the Quantum Leap lead character. And basically, what was I going to say here? Oh, so where was he dropping them off at? Was it 666 5th Avenue? You have to wonder, don't you? Which, of course, his son-in-law purchased and then sold. But the Donald Trump 58 Matrix, you won't believe. The Trump Matrix begins in 1958 in this episode of a Western-themed show, which originally aired on CBS. It began making its rounds shortly after Donald Trump was elected president. The episode includes a con man named Walter Trump, who enters a dusty town in Texas to scare the locals into believing that the world will end in a rain of cosmic fire unless they let him build a giant wall to protect them. He says, "I am the only one, trust me. I can build a wall around your homes that nothing will penetrate." The episode was titled "The End of the World." And in fact, it ends with Trump being shot and apparently killed. Now, we've all seen this clip, but what you haven't seen is what I'm about to show you next. There is something about the year 1958, because Trump also appears in a 1992 episode as the... So apparently there's some copyright there that removed the sound. Let's keep playing this here. End of the World is the name of it. May 9th, one day away from Trump's mother's birthday. Wow. 1958 is when this track down episode aired. So there's all this stuff surrounding, time travel stuff surrounding Trump and his mother. Not just him, his mother. And remember, she's a throwback all the way to the Standing Stones of Callanish in the Outlander series, which is another time travel series. Hopefully the sound will come back on here. Hill Valley. Wow. Deeper, because Biff would go on to be depicted as Donald Trump in the 1989 sequel. You begin to wonder, is time travel real? The 58 Matrix goes on because on the eve of the 88th day of the year, March 28th, March 29th is the 88th day of the year, Trump, or Biff, he turns 21 and uses a sports almanac to bet on a horse race, and that is how he wins his first $1 million. How old was the real Trump in 1958? 12, 21, another Back to the Future mirror. Now this is all a whole lot of script writing acrobatics across multiple episodes to be just some kind of coincidence. So now you may be thinking, did anything weird happen? when Trump was 58 years old? And in fact, something did. He married the First Lady of the United States, Melania, on January 22nd, 2005. That's almost exactly 11 years before she would become the First Lady and he would be inaugurated president. And I'll leave you with this last bizarre synchronicity from the film called The Devil's Advocate, and it released on October 17th in the Hebrew year 58.
These aren't the Republicans of New York.
You know, of course, you can always overstate things.
Donald Trump was supposed to be here tonight. Donald Trump was supposed to be here tonight. Donald Trump was supposed to be here tonight. Business emergency. Probably
Hey.
Zuckerman.
Oh, I thought you here. I'd like to meet my wife, Marianne. Marianne, this is Pam here.
Now remember, what you're looking at now are scenes from The Devil's Advocate. Donald Trump's mentioned in the script, and it was also filmed at Trump Tower. His wife, this is Neo, right, from The Matrix, and his wife is Marianne, same name as Trump's mother. All kinds of Trump synchronicities here. Let's keep playing this.
Pam here.
Now I'm going to pause it here because Marianne, the wife of Keanu Reeves in The Devil's Advocate, is the same name as Trump's mother. His mother's name is Marianne as well. And she was born on the 58th day. Another 58. Now, I'm going to go ahead and link this video for you guys, for those of you that are interested in watching the rest of this decode that we did from several years ago. Now I'm back in the chat live, and I'll link that for you guys. For those of you that want to watch that, let's go back in the chat for a little bit and see what you guys are up to. Unbelievable, all the time travel synchronicities going back decades and decades and decades, multiple TV shows. There has to be a connection, doesn't there? TV shows about time travel. All right. All right. Do you guys have any questions before we pop off of here? I've got a lot of editing to do today and get my show notes ready for the show tomorrow, which is Three Body Problem, a TV series, a brand new TV series that just came out. All right. Yeah, did you see the spiral earrings? That's a portal. And that lady in The Devil's Advocate with the spiral earrings is actually one of the demons. They aren't saying much about the lunar eclipse tonight. Yeah, the lunar eclipse tonight, apparently. All right. All right, you guys, well, I'll put links to all this, and I'll see you again tomorrow at 8:30 Central Time. Much love, everybody. Take care.